So Pulsechain has higher throughput, better security, lower environmental impact to the point of nearly none, is a newer coin with more features, is faster than Bitcoin. But Bitcoin has an $800 billion market cap. Pulsechain doesn't. Why? Well, we're new. We're on the way, right? Things will get better, in my opinion. So like, oh, and for you listening, is that a forward-looking price statement? Nope, not a forward-looking price statement, not financial advice. So we've got a wonderful network. We've got wonderful features. We've got wonderful airdrop. There's, you can do lending on the Pulsechain network. There's projects that let you borrow coins. There's projects that there's stable coins on Pulsechain. There's all types of stuff people have launched on Pulsechain. Guys, the network is good. Works great. Oh, and the bridge is free too. Somebody set the bridge to 0 fee so that using the bridge has no fee, both directions. So if you go to bridge.pulsechain.com, there's no fees currently. In, out, either way, no fees. Now you're going to pay a fee on the Ethereum network. Nothing you can do about that. That's Ethereum's side, right? So you got a great network and you got a ton of free coins. And it's been worked flawlessly for 7 months. Go make it great, guys. Launch stuff on it, use it, build fiat on-ramps, make a money transmitter in your state, make a licensed money transmitter in your state, and you can, make the community better. Like,
Hey everybody, welcome back, and always like that little Christmas video from Richard. Very bullish on Pulsechain and just getting started. It's really just getting ready, and so I always take that and that direction going forward. And of course, the Magic Carpet Ride, we talk about that all the time. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now we're going to have a great show, great lineup. I hope you guys enjoy it. We're going to talk about MicroStrategy and buying 9,245 Bitcoin. We're going to talk about the Ethereum ETF Intel, the latest on that. We're going to look at the launch, Pulse launch, which is just launched on Pulsechain. That is live. That is a project launching site. The first one to Pulsechain, as I'm aware. Maybe TrustSwap had a little bit of one, but that's really the main one now. We've got also looking at Pulsechain is going to be gaining a lot of international attention moving forward. Big deal. So we're going to talk about that. So stay tuned. And of course, much more. We're going to catch up on the market results of Pulsechain. We're also going to talk about Richard Hart's post today. Particular around how many X's Pulsechain and that may be able to do and get the math right. A lot of people putting out some FUD math out there that's just incorrect math. So we're going to have a look at that as well. It's going to be a fun show. Are you guys happy? I think I'm happy. Let's get onto it, folks. And let's go. Let's see who's in house first before we get into the updates. We're going to talk about the stock market, of course. And that is, we're talking about Tuesday's results of the stock market. So we'll get into that. Lies Beneath the Truth, how are you today? Very good. Hex PLSX, and Ethereum for the win, 100%. And we just actually saw EHEX did pretty well overnight, didn't it? With the rest of the market pulling down. So not too bad as well. We got Check My Pulse says, good evening, Superman. Good evening, Hex Token family. Hey, good evening to everybody out there. Who else has jumped in here? Wookie says, we live in the time of earn. Yeah, that's true. A lot of people on the Power City Earn protocol earning a lot of earning and incentive token on Pulsex, pretty popular as well. Simple Believer says these dips are looking juicy. They are an opportunity. You can decide for yourself, but man, are they an opportunity? This pullback, very significant one, and I think people will look back on this pullback potentially as one of the most significant moving forward for the big bull market for Pulsechain. So yeah, really good insight there. Don't get too downhearted if you've got your position and it's coming down value. Because sometimes we get these kind of play outs after having quite a nice little run up, and then that's people look back and go, oh, that was the time I could have picked up the most bags and made the biggest X's. So in the context, so just remember that we will have some of these moments in the chart as Pulsechain moves forward in time that people will look back and go, oh, that was the time, and that was maybe 1 or 3 or 4 opportunities I could have really picked up a lot of position there on Pulsechain. So well worth thinking about there. Crypto Dan and house there. Hi guys, good to see you, Crypto Dan. And Check My Pulse says 2023, the year of Pulsechain, 2024, the year of BTC halving, 6 months from halving. I'm so bullish in our future. That's right. woohoo, we have chosen wisely. Absolutely agree with that as well. Sandy Beach in the house there. Hello, Hex Token everybody. Good to see you, Sandy. What else there? We got Sandy Beach is, hey, Check Mix. Yeah, Check Mix is crushing it in the chat there. All right, so let's bring up the stock market and let's get going. We've got a lot to talk about, so bam, let's go. That is not what we're talking about first. We're talking about stock market. So stock market here, S&P 500 closes at record. Woohoo! So we like this as focus shifts to the Fed decision. And of course, here we are at the moment. The Dow Jones is up 0.08%, 320 points. It's a pretty good move. That's up to 39,110. And remember, the Dow Jones has got the top 30 industrials in it, at least a particular selection of them. The S&P 500 is up 0.56%, 29 points to 5,178. And the NASDAQ there is up 0.39%, 63 points to 16,166. So a nice little move on the stock market overnight for Tuesday. Dollar index is up 0.22% there to 103.46. Remember, was it last week? It was kind of waning off, but dollar index has been up a couple of times now, returning a bit more strength. Commodities, let's have a look at that. West Texas is at $82.50, down slightly. Brent oil is at $87.22, up slightly there. Gold is at $2,160. And of course, that's, it's ho-hum. It's, it had a nice little push, but it's not really doing that much. Silver at the moment, $25. That's had a better push, isn't it? $25. Certainly getting in between that $24 and $28 kind of resistance zone. And of course, some people are calling for, a big move at one stage up to maybe $100, $125 per silver. But of course, we need the interest rate pivot and the US dollar tanking, right? Devaluing for that silver move, in my opinion. So still waiting upon that. That's something for the future, perhaps. The poor man's gold, the old silver. Fed meeting kicks off amid worries over hawkish message. So the Fed's two-day meeting kicked off on Tuesday, but with an unchanged decision on rates expected. So we're not expecting the pivot, the federal funds rate change from 5.25 to 5.5% at this meeting. Investors worry that the Fed may signal fewer rate cuts this year. And that's probably that forward-looking statement is the big thing that people were looking at. How many rate cuts that they're expecting? Maybe we had 3. Originally, it was going to be like 4 or 5 that people had. I think they've got down to about 3 at the moment, most of the analysts. Following a recent bout of hotter than expected inflation, and of course, data released over the last couple of weeks has shown that U.S. inflation has remained above the central bank's 2% medium target. An updated summary of economic projections could show a reduced expectation for rate cuts this year relative to 3 predicted in December. There's that 3 I was talking about. Despite fears about a less dovish Fed, Treasury yield slipped with the yield on the 2-year Treasury down 4 basis points to 4.69%. And on the economic front, housing activity continued to recover as housing starts and building permits surprised to the upside. So there we are. That's just showing some resilience there. And of course, we've got the meeting on at the moment. The Fed rate meeting is currently on. And of course, we've got 18 hours until that, that big, till the chair sort of gives the big announcement there about what's happening with the Fed's rates there. Still 18 hours to go for that. That'll be interesting. Yeah, no change, 100%. And no change there. It's pretty definitive. May is the next one, right? We've got 97% expecting no change. Boy, things have changed pretty fast, haven't they? So June is the earliest that we may get a pivot at this stage. But if that forward-looking statement is pretty dovish on the moving the rates, then that's going to be pretty bad. Sorry, pretty hawkish of not having less rate cuts, then it's going to be worse. All right, so that's July. In July, what's it looking? Almost 80% expecting the market to pivot. So we're still looking at June or July there for interest rate pivots at this stage. So that leads us into crypto. Everyone likes crypto. Put your hand up if we like crypto. We are a crypto channel. I guess we have to like it. All right, so BTC there is at $62,269. We're so used to the green. Now we get the red. And, it takes a bit of surprise getting back in the red zone. We're down 3% today. Pretty big move down for Bitcoin. And, of course, Ethereum there, $3,185, down 3.5%. Obviously, after the big run, expecting a pullback. Here we got the pullback, right? There's the pullback in play. Everything else is pretty much down as well. A couple of percentage points. So anything in pink is pink reddish is basically less than 5%. If it gets into sort of a dark red, it gets up to like Peppy here, for example, is down over 5%, just so that's in the dark red. Just to give you an idea. There is a few green shoots. Looks like optimism is up 1.18% at the moment, $3.42. So at least something in second layer chains are doing okay. So that is a general market there. Let's have a look at Bitcoin itself on Coinbase. And here we are at $62,000. So we had a high of $68,000 today. Man, oh man, a low of $61,500. What a move, eh? What a move. So what's that? $6,500 range. $6,500 range in a day. Is that crazy? Cray. It's crazy, but that's crypto. You got to take the volatility with the mad gains. You know, Richard Hart always says that. You might get the mad gains, but you got to be able to handle the volatility as well. And we're getting that on Pulsechain, and of course a lot of the rest of crypto as well at the moment. So that is pretty much it. We've got the support here, of course, on the 50 moving average. That's that yellow line. The blue line is a 200. We've got 50 sitting at around about 58,600. So that's kind of a support line there. And of course, you know, we're looking over at the, I don't know if we've got the weekly. Let's go to the weekly, shall we? Let's go to the week and have a look at the weekly candles. That's the week. Let's get rid of the overlays. And of course, you can see we're coming down to a bit of a resistance area. And of course, that's around about, what is that, about 61,000 or so. So that's kind of place. And then the next one is 58,900. So at 58 to 5900 is probably the zone there for that, for the support line. So 58, 59. So let's say 59, 58, 59, good resistance zone there. And maybe we've got one at 61 there. And that's we just kind of almost bounced off that at the moment. So that's kind of the play. It's in the overlays. And at the moment, we've got the Bitcoin halving coming up, though. So kind of cool. And this is the first time, of course, reaching all-time high before the Bitcoin halving there. And, of course, let's have a look at how many days we've got to go to the Bitcoin halving. 28 days. So it's going to be glorious. And a big shout-out to the Runestone holders out there. Runestones, man. Get into our strategy club. Links in the video description. Runestones are going to look to be hot. And, of course, it's going to be fantastic with the big Rune token airdrop after the Bitcoin halving. It's going to be a fun time. So if you want to find out more about that, get into our Discord, get into Strategy Club. And, of course, it's $35 a month, so get onto that one. Gets access to the alpha for the big moves on the old Bitcoin. Leverage Bitcoin with Runestones. How about that? All right, that is pretty much it at the moment. 28 days to go. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get into some of the news around Bitcoin, of course. With the Bitcoin moving down, we have had more buying from MicroStrategy. You guys know they raised even more money. We talked about that the other day. MicroStrategy has acquired an additional 9,245 Bitcoin. Did I get that right on the title? Yes, on the video I did. For $623 million. So a cool $623 million using proceeds again from convertible notes that they raised and excess cash for $67,382 per Bitcoin. So that's under the water at the moment. But you know, Michael Saylor, he's talking about big numbers for Bitcoin. There is no better asset. That is his position, and we've watched that before. As of the 18th of the 3rd, 2024, that's the US framework. We always put the day, the month, and the year, which seems a lot more logical than putting the month in the day. But hey, this is the way it goes. No offense to the Americans out there. So yeah, we've got the 18th of the March 2024, and the MicroStrategy ticket there hodls 214,000 or 246 Bitcoin at the moment, which is around about 1% of the supply for $7.5 billion at an average price of $35,000 per Bitcoin. So it's all in there for MicroStrategy. Pretty cool. Now we've got a bit of good interview here with Pompliano, and of course he's talking about this pullback, getting questioned about the pullback in Bitcoin, about the outlook for Bitcoin, and of course some of the rules, I guess the rules in Bitcoin, let's call them inverted commas, and also adds tags a bit more about meme coins. So we're going to watch that video. I hope you guys enjoy this one. Let me just make sure I get in the right format for that. Bam.
Founder now, Anthony Pompliano, where we're going to talk about something much simpler than the intricacies of market structure here, because you do have Bitcoin prices back below $65,000. What's happening under the surface?
Yeah, for context, this is a pullback for ants compared to what Bitcoin historically has been through, right? In previous bull markets, Bitcoin has experienced 30% drawdowns 5 or more times. So on the way up, in 2017, we went from $1,000 to $20,000. There was multiple 30% drawdowns. Right now, we're about 13 to 15% drawdown. So in historical context, this is actually a very small drawdown in a bull market. Now, the other thing that's happening, I think, is if you extend out and you look over the last 10 years, in the last 5 years, Bitcoin's up 1,500%. The S&P is up not even double. If you go back 10 years, Bitcoin is compounded. The compound annual growth rate of Bitcoin is 60%. The S&P is 11%. And so if you compare those things, if you want volatility on the upside, you're going to need some volatility on the downside to get there. And so I think that just keeping the historical context is important because this is a very, very small drawdown compared to what we've seen in the past.
But does it mean that traders really ought to buckle up here and expect potentially more volatility, further drawdowns ahead?
I mean, there is some irony in the fact that Wall Street came in and when the ETFs were approved, immediately the price crashed, right? Kind of like welcome to Bitcoin. And then we break all-time highs. And 3 of the last 4 times that we had broken all-time highs, Bitcoin's price had doubled in 18 days or less. And then all of a sudden we get a 15% drawdown. And so I think one of the lessons of Bitcoin over the last, call it 3-4 years is no one knows what the future is going to be. And we've even violated some of those historical rules that people held kind of as these like holy rules, right? We had never seen Bitcoin go below a previous all-time high. We had never seen Bitcoin hit an all-time high before the halving. Both of those rules got broken. And so I think we're in uncharted territory here. And people have to understand this is like an 80 vol asset that, yes, it's been the best performing asset, but it is very, very volatile all the way up.
You've been in this space for quite a while, relatively speaking, because it's a relatively young space. You're known for a couple things, being early to the space, but also making quite a few private investments when it comes to crypto, when it comes to blockchain technology. Given that we have emerged from the crypto winter, how would you characterize venture capital interest right now around crypto versus where we were about a year ago before this bull market?
So venture capital interest for sure has increased. We've seen a lot more capital flow into it. But what I think is interesting about crypto is there's private markets and public markets, but the public markets are not like in traditional technology, right? In traditional technology, we have the best companies staying private for longer. And so the returns available to you in the public market are not nearly as attractive as, let's say, an early stage investment. In crypto, that line is much more blurred. And what I mean by that is you can go and you can invest in a seed round, a Series A, maybe even a Series B of a private, kind of normal equity investment. But if you're buying some of these tokens in the public liquid market, they still are early stage investments, right? And so you have liquidity, which obviously changes kind of the way that you think about risk and reward. But 2 is there's still a lot of asymmetry. And if you go back, there's maybe the last cycle, Solana was kind of the famous example. Anybody in the world who had an internet connection could have gone and bought Solana for $1 on the liquid exchanges. It went up to $250. Those have historically been returns that have been reserved only for private market investors. And so again, it doesn't mean that they're all going to work. They're all early stage, type things. And so there's a lot of risk. But I do think that there's a more of a blending. And so when you see interest come back in the public market, it's also coming back in the private market.
Hey, one of the promises of crypto has been this idea of democratization. This idea that instead of it being controlled by a small number of very wealthy people, the masses, for lack of a better term, have access to it. I was pretty struck earlier today when I saw that Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy now holds 1% of all Bitcoin that's ever going to be created. Does that concern you?
Not really. I mean, Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, they've owned 1% for a decade or so, give or take. And so there's a number of different organizations or people who have, 1%, 0.5%. What I think is really interesting is as Bitcoin's price has been moving up, there's a report that came out that 1,500 wallets per day were reaching the $1 million threshold. And so,
right. And we don't know if those are individuals. We don't know who those are.
But let's just say, some portion of them are individuals. And so Bitcoin is essentially minting millionaires on the way up. Now, how do you think about what's like the ideal distribution, right? Does everyone in the world get 1 Bitcoin? Well, there's not enough for that, right? How do you kind of view, okay, if we could perfectly plan distribution? Well, the beauty is this is a free market, right? It is kind of the epitome of what economics and a lot of economic theory has always pontificated about. And so what we're seeing is people are buying Bitcoin at the price they kind of deserve, right? If they've done the work and they understand it, they start to buy it. Their access to capital, right? It's not like Michael Saylor has bought all the Bitcoin with his own money. Actually, I would argue that Michael Saylor doesn't control all that Bitcoin. What happens is he's got debt investors, he's got equity investors, he's got himself, et cetera. And so there's a lot of people who kind of have their hand in the cookie jar of that Bitcoin. Bitcoin.
We're talking so much about Bitcoin, and we should say that you guys are hosting a Bitcoin Investor Day in just a couple days. But it begs the question, what about everything else but Bitcoin? You see so much interest that has just flown back into the markets. You can call it exuberance, you could call it a bubble if for some. What about the meme coins?
So I think right now the market story is Bitcoin and meme coins. And frankly, they're both right? That's kind of the crazy part about this market is the Bitcoin investors have been right. We hit a new all-time high. Everything they've been saying is now getting repeated as talking points by some of the most respected people in finance. But on the other end of this, human nature is gambling, right? We have government-sanctioned lotteries, et cetera. And so if I say to someone, hey, there's somebody over there who put $500 in the thing, went to sleep, woke up, and it's now worth $25,000, there's a lot of people in America who say, well, I'm interested in that. But this just isn't an American story. It's a global story. And so we're seeing these meme coins work. Now, again, it's almost like a video game for adults, right? I don't like playing video games that much. I play every once in a while, but I'm not confused as to say that's real life. And I think these financial assets are very similar. The odds that these things actually have real value or are kind of tethered to anything in the real world are very low. But there are people making real money doing this. And I would argue it's no different than what we see in the stock market many times. People are gambling on, zero-day options. Well, if I buy a meme coin or I do a zero-day option, which one has better odds? That's pretty hard to compete.
Anthony, we're going to have to leave it there. Always good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on a Bloomberg Crypto. Pomp Investments founder, Anthony Pompliano.
All right, so that was some pretty good commentary there from Pompliano there. And, of course, some of the key takeaways there, I thought it was interesting talking about meme coins, which is pretty cool. Obviously, big movers in meme coins the last couple of weeks. We talked about that on this channel. The other one, of course, is the fact that Bitcoin, how much can you actually get to own? Talk about holding, people making millions. Obviously, we used to talk about, if you can get one Bitcoin. Now it's like, can you get 0.1 Bitcoin now? And that's going to be enough to, make some mad gains. Of course, the alternative is to get into altcoins and to get a leverage play on what any X's you will get. And of course, Pulsechain is one of the mega plays for that. And we're going to talk about that coming up. So stay tuned. Here's the Ethereum price. So that was the Bitcoin commentary. And, of course, a big move there today on Bitcoin, both in terms of buying and selling, as we can see in the chart. Now, we've got the big red candle in Ethereum. Of course, we've had a high today of 3,547, and we had a low today of 3,147. So there we go. That's about a $400 exactly a range in that candle there. And, of course, we are getting closer. And we had the Deacon upgrade going very well. And we've got, obviously, the Bitcoin halving coming up in 28 days. And then past that, we've got obviously the Ethereum ETF, which is 64 days away. So this is the next piece of intel we're going to look at. And so let's zoom in on that. Now we've got James Steffert, as you guys know, is one of the two big Bloomberg analysts that most of the market follows. And we've been following them for some time now. So James Steffert there says we are likely going to see at least 3 more Ethereum ETF delays today, tomorrow. Says we're expected. Remember, they have different rounds and get sort of the SEC typically, like Bitcoin, lined them all up for the last round where they approve them all. But Ethereum ETF is going to be a bit more challenging. Van Eyck, ARK, 21 shares, Hashtag, and Grayscale are all due for delays in the next 12 days. So nothing's going to change there. Yep, here's 2, of course, ARK 21 shares, Ethereum ETF. Designation of a longer period of commission action on proceedings to determine whether to approve. So that's been pushed out as well. I should add, these were always going to be delay orders. So that was expected. The only deadline that matters is May the 23rd. And of course, you can see we've had it in our chart here for some time, May the 23rd here, which, as we say, is, getting closer and closer by the day, 64 days away. And of course, that is also just after the Bitcoin halving, which is a pretty perfect time, to be honest, for the beginning of a real next rally in Bitcoin. We know it's typically about a month afterwards, and that's 36 days after that. So ticking away there. Now, let me just get in here. Now, this is the summary view. This is kind of this conclusion here. 3 hours ago. This is all 3 hours ago, so it's hot off the press there. My cautiously optimistic attitude for ETH ETFs has changed from recent months. So he was cautiously optimistic. And we now believe these will ultimately be denied May the 23rd for this round. So just remember that. The SEC hasn't engaged with issuers on Ethereum specifics. This is the exact opposite of what they did with Bitcoin ETFs leading up to the 10th of January decision earlier this year. So it's very important there. Now, the other analyst that is in this is Eric Balkahunas from Bloomberg. These are the two that we've been following. Yeah, our odds of an ETF approval by May deadline are down to 35%. I get all the reasons they should approve it, and we personally believe they should. But all the sign sources that they're making us bullish 2.5 months out for BTC spot are not there this time. Remember, with the BTC, they also had the legal smackdown from the court as well, which is not applying here for the Ethereum there. Note 35% isn't zero. It's still possible, and the long term, I think it will still happen. So long term, maybe 90%, but 35% at the moment. So very, very important to take that into account. So that's kind of where we are at the moment. This Eleanor Terrett, who I'm not too familiar with here, so this squares with what I'm hearing too. To Jake's points, that does not mean it won't get approved this year. Just that time is clearly ticking down to the May deadline with no meaningful engagement yet from the SEC staff and applications. But who knows? They could go parabolic on engagement in April or May. And of course, Jake here, it brings me no joy to be an ETF a bear. I've just been working for Ethereum in one sense or another for 5+ years. I want the ETF to be approved. It should. Just calling it like I see it, and I see an SEC that one dislikes crypto as a concept, sees no value in the technology, and thinks attacking it is politically advantageous. Of course, we've seen that pretty rampant. Number two, seeks to please progressive elected officials and third-party observers that had made anti-crypto a core part of their platform and vocally criticized the SEC for approving spot Bitcoin ETFs even after the grayscale opinion. Of course, they're all anti-freedom, right? These progressives, and that's why we damned it against them. Has a wrong but not insane basis for denial. Spot futures correlation, which might be foreclosed by the grayscale opinion, but not necessarily given how the DC circuit framed its ruling as a failure by the SEC to justify its position, not as an absolute judgment on the correlation issue. Number four, could come up with new grounds for denial that weren't tested by grayscale in court, which could likely also be subject to court challenge, but may be easier for the SEC to justify. Number five, is willing to take the litigation risk and lose in court based on a preference for being viewed as fighters in a war against crypto rather than being accused of rolling over. Of course, they've done it many times. And number six there, as of now, appears to be making little effort to work on the details necessary for approval and listing, instead seeming to focus on diligence, correlation, perhaps to build up its basis for denial. To be clear, I'm not saying there's no chance for a spot ETF, Ethereum ETF to be approved this year. I'm just saying that the general sentiment in this early mid bull market is overestimating the chance of approval, and that's the key there. Given all the political and strategic factors weighing against, the good news is that we will likely get more signal about which direction the SEC is leaning over the coming weeks. Recall that the SEC foreshadowed spot Bitcoin approval with all the work it did on the details of the days leading up to the January deadline. If we don't start to see those signs and hearing those reports as the May 23 deadline approaches, that sign will speak volume. So all the experts, analysts who have been very good on this, basically, just pulling the optimism down, let's say down to 35%, like James Stefford, the Bloomberg analyst. So a bit less optimistic now, maybe from 60% down to 35%, just the way things are progressing, but that could flip around again, maybe in April or May there. So we'll see how we go. But in any case, we're still going to have the Bitcoin halving, and typically we know about a month after that, the market really starts to take off. So it'd be nice to have the Ethereum ETF and the money going through there, jumping on that bandwagon, but still pretty bullish. And if we do get the interest rate cuts in June or July, that will also feed. And of course, we're looking also, will the Federal Reserve use this other big tool, which is monetary expansion. Obviously, they've been in contraction. If they go to that as well, we've got both Fed tools, lower interest rates and monetary expansion, pumping speculative assets, and that brings the bull market on. Of course, if we get a good result in the US election on the 5th of November, obviously with Trump, with the proper economic management, then we could get an extended bull market, which means we're all going to be better off, right? So that's kind of the play there on the markets, which are pretty cool. That's going to lead us into Pulsechain. We've got lots of bullish stuff happening at Pulsechain. I think you guys are going to enjoy some of the things we're going to talk about. We've got Yoden in the house there. Cheers, Skins. Good to see Yoden. Check my pulse says time is flying. They're running out of days. I'm excitedly, patiently waiting. Bullish is check my pulse. What else there? We've got 52 weeks. Tides are rising. Yeah, we're going to talk about that as well. Which lead us, depends on whose date you're taking, but it could lead us to about the 7th of May for the 52-week shakeout on Pulsechain. So there we go. Take that for what you want. Check my pulse says we've definitely handled the volatility and Hex Token family over the past few years. Thank you to all, and congratulations to all of us still here. Absolutely. I've actually had a few people contact me, DM me on X social platforms saying, hey, look, I see all this FUD on X. And I said to you, that's why we're no drama channel. We don't focus on that. So we're just focused on the value and of course the narratives moving forward. So there we go. I appreciate all of you. I wouldn't have made it without you. So check my pulse. There is the Strategy Club link if you want to join up the Strategy Club today, $35 a month, and we talk about some amazing opportunities. So definitely get onto that. We've got Tim Top in the house there. What's up, Hexicans? Hey, Tim Top, welcome. 10K in pray says Tim Top there. 10K in pray. Well, I think we had that on a spike, didn't we? Didn't we get that on a spike? I think it probably happened. Very good, says Wookie, and good indeed. Wookie has always loved a Bitcoin. A nice one. All right, let's get into the Pulsechain roundup here. Let's go. So we've talked about MicroStrategy buys, 9,245 a Bitcoin. Talked about Ethereum ETF intelligence. And of course, we're going to get into the live launch soon. Well, the live launch for the launch token. It's kind of funny. We're going to get into the Pulsechain update first. So let's go for gold on that and bring that in here. So this is from a Crypto Coffee, pretty much I argue the biggest influencer in our space, Pulsechain Hex, that's dedicated to that niche. Crypto Coffee says, seems Pulsechain gaining international attention in top investor circles. On April the 22nd, Pulsechain will talk on stage in front of 30,000 C-level attendees at the World Blockchain Summit in Dubai, the world's longest running blockchain summit series. So this is fantastic news. This is not stuff that people talk about a lot, but getting on those crypto, big crypto conferences is a big deal. So that's going to be great to see that, and get the name out and about, get people talking. On June the 21st, the Pulsechain will share the spotlight with stars like Tony Robbins on the main stage of the Greater Festival in Germany before 15,000 entrepreneurs and investors. So getting out there as well. A good opportunity for a lot of Pulsechain teams if they're in these particular countries or can travel there to go and support this, or even if they can afford it, to put up stalls or anything like that. Responsible for this multi-million-dollar Swiss corporation called Sun AG, which aims to revolutionize its food product world through blockchain tech. So a big alliance here. Sun has opted for an exclusive partnership. This is incredible. Exclusive in partnership with Pulsechain. The corporation, startup currently growing faster than Red Bull did this in its startup phase, and aiming to build 5 million Pulsechain users by 2030. So this is a pretty big deal. It's always good to get on the ground with these sort of businesses. It is so committed to Pulsechain that it is sponsoring both events as co-host and main sponsor, and has a premium partner, GF. So that's fantastic. There's more. They've recently partnered with the famous world champion race driver Nico Rosberg in the Extreme E Championship, reaching 2 billion viewers. And is anybody in Dubai? Let Hex Scout know. Of course, Hex Scout is our premier. It's a replace Staker App really, is our premier front end or user interface for Hex and other portfolio they have on Pulsechain. Their goal is to get 5 million Pulsechain users by 2030. Will it be achieved? It's great to have them on board. Like I say, Pulsechain's not going anywhere. Blockchain is immutable, and it's going to keep ticking away there. So if you're worried about the future of Pulsechain, this is just another bullish leg being laid. A foundation has to be laid on top of a foundation, right? If you think about archaeology, you have city over city over city. It's kind of almost like that, not quite. But it's, it's layers and layers upon each other, and this is a great another potential layer on there. So great news there from Crypto Copy. All right, nice, not bad. If you guys want to hit that up, I'll just post the link in the chat there if you want to make any comments or anything like that. That is the link to this article there with Crypto Copy. And give Crypto Copy a follow while you're there if you haven't already. All right, let's jump over to the next one, which is Richard Hart, the man, the myth, and the legend himself. And of course, here he is. He's been posting. I wasn't live streaming yesterday or the day before. No, was it the day before? No, just yesterday, I think maybe. I wasn't live streaming yesterday, but here we go. Richard put this out. I wonder what improvements could be made to hex.com. So nice to see him looking at making some updates there. There's definitely plenty of ideas that could be updated. You can see a lot of people there have been responding and offering their insights there. So kind of cool. Something for you to do if you want to do that. So it's kind of neat. We also had Richard here talking about, is that the one I want to talk about? I think there was something else I was going to say here. All right, yes, PulseX. So the IPFS link to PulseX has been improved to be more responsive It was sometimes a little bit jiggity, but I opened that up today and it was pretty smooth. So good to see that operating as well for the PulseX as well. So this is the main item now. Let's get into it. And this is a big update from Richard. Now, there's been a lot of incorrect math running around X platform, and that's what you expect. So if you like no drama, it's best to just keep away from it, because you'll get all these different ideas coming at you, and a lot of them will be wrong, and you'll get them, and you wonder what the hell is going on. Why am I feeling depressed? I thought this was going to be cool, and it's not so good. So that's why we're in no drama channel. And anyway, so Richard's kind of responding to some of these things. Richard Hart says that Richard Hart teaches you about guessing price moves based on PulseX liquidity. There's been FUD videos out there and wrong math and all that sort of stuff. So you got to be careful who you listen to. Price moves as a square, and this is probably the key thing to remember, right? So Richard said this many times over the years. Price moves as a square, obviously reflecting the AMM pools, particularly for V2s. We get the formula y equals y times x times y equals k, that formula. So you guys remember that. That's the V2 formula. Take, for instance, a rat pulse die pair. It has 22.3 million die in it. If you double the die, the price goes up 4x. And this is the math that people were getting wrong in the spreadsheets. So just remember that out there. There's a lot of bad math, and there were people who were fudding down Pulsechain and the amount of x's it could get. So it's very important to remember that. So price moves as a square. Take, for instance, Pulse die pair. It has 22.3 million die in it. If you double the die, the price goes up. So if you think about how you get price going up, you've got LP providers, right? So they can change the amount of LP into a pool. Maybe they do by 20%, for example. That can have a massive ramification on the price and the way how the price moves. The other thing, of course, you can have a big buyer come in, and a big buyer can flood a whole ton of money. Let's say $100 million or something like that, and that can push the price up big X's. So if you did both of those moves together, if you're a big LP provider, you wanted to push the price up and you had big money, you could do those moves together. Particularly on the bottom of a market, you could do that. And so, or the top of the market, depending on what you're trying to achieve. And on the bottom market, you could do both those moves and you can push the price up a lot, right? Now, obviously, it gains a lot of slippage, but you could do that. The other side of it, of course, we've also, in PulseX, got a buy and burn, right? So that's another buyer that's just going to keep buying all the time based on the volume of the exchange. And of course, we have everybody else, right? The retail book, the big money institutions, all that sort of stuff, the big whales, the VCs. And we've got all these players on top of maybe a big, nice magical whale, right? So this is very important to remember that. However, this would make the rat pulse in that pair more expensive than in the ETH, USDC, USD Tether pairs. So arbitrage bots would sell it down and buy the cheaper pairs, making the difference, which is why smart whales spread pressure across all the pairs. This is very important around the strategy there. This is why smart whales spread pressure across all the pairs, leaving less arbitrage opportunities, thus getting better deals, PLS for the dollar. So remember that. Thus, how might one guess how much price would move up based on dollar input? Add up the dollars in the DAI, ETH, USDC, USD Tether versus Pulse pairs. Every time you double that dollars, the price 4x's. So remember that. That's kind of the rule to remember. And of course, Richard's mentioned this many times, but it looks like some people out there fudding just forgot or don't know the math or whatever, never listened properly. If people remove liquidity, the numbers go up and down faster. I think he's missing the word up there. If they add liquidity, the volatility is reduced. Don't click any links and responses, as they are from imposters, of course. $49 million is sitting in the bid side for Pulse and PulseX V1 across DAI, ETH, USDC, USD Tether currently. So another 49 million and would be a 4x price. So that's kind of the key takeaways there. Yeah, we've had people have seen some of those fake videos, the wrong videos. I think they may have meant well. I'm not sure what they were trying to achieve, but they had the wrong maths inside their calculators, etc. Another 444 million would be 100x in price if it all happened in a single order across the four pairs. It's not exact, but because our bots and other market participants buy and sell along the way, and there's other quite smaller pairs to arb with too, like PulseX V2. As far as guessing goes, it's quite a good and mathematical guess. Core lesson. These are the core lessons here. Number one, lots of people talk a lot but have no idea what they're actually talking about. We're probably referring to those videos and calculations and FUD out there that's been out there the last couple of days. Number two, prices in PulseX are very mathematically defined. Number three, some info sites show you one side as liquidity and some show 2x as much as they count both sides of liquidity. So they make a calculation on one side of that formula that we talked about, the AMM formula, and forget about the other side. And that's where they get their maths wrong. As much as they count both sides of the liquidity. Number 4, the liquidity you see in Pulse versus Pulsex shouldn't be used to guess price moves based on dollar input, because the dollar inputs you're talking about would come via ETH, USD Tether, USDC, and DAI. But wait, there's more, and we're not talking Ginsu knives here. There's more reflexivity because most things are paired with Pulse. Their prices versus dollars fly up when we see Pulse goes up, and we love that, don't we? We love that. Hart's Law, there's Hart's Law, love that. The prices of things that trade versus each other rise and fall together as they are bonded by liquidity in the order books. Long story short, says Richard, as you can see by the massive price movements up recently for Pulse, Pulsex, Hex, and Incentive, it really doesn't take many millions to cause quite large movements up there. Remember that. You can literally see the money in and the charts moves. It's obvious, measurable, and mathematically defined. Thus, when you're guessing, use the correct pairs. Look out for the doubling of liquidity. And of course, you guys know I've been looking at that every day. I said this, we're going to be watching this as kind of the health check of Pulsechain, and we've been doing that indirectly. By counting both sides, realizing liquidity is like inverse leverage. It too attracts both directions up and down. It's easier to reason that Pulsex liquidity because it's equal in both directions. Another catch, the DAI, USD Tether, USDC, and ETH prices on Pulsex can also move around based on people's orders. So they're not one-to-one with the same assets on ETH, for instance. But our bots love to keep them unlocked and make the profit on doing so via arbitrage. But wait, there's even more, says Richard. If you're a ratio trader and swapping from Pulsex, Hex, and DAI amongst them, I think he means incentive token there, amongst themselves without a needed to touch stables or ETH pairs, then your slippage is quite less because there's so much more liquidity in those pairs amongst themselves versus those things paired with stables or ETH, which is why you shouldn't use those paired to guess price moves based on inputs from the stables and ETH pairs, as you would greatly misguess the price moves to the small side. TLDR, prices have moved up a lot with quite less than hundreds of millions of buys because of math. People are bad at math. And that's pretty much from Richard there. And of course, his post is a picture there of the volume. And of course, we've seen volume pick up a lot on Pulsechain of recent. Obviously, we've got down prices the last couple of days, but other than that, we've seen a lot of big moves there. Almost 137,000 views on there. Pretty cool. Now, Richard followed up on that. Pulsex, Hex, Incentive are less liquid than Pulse and double on far less dollars of input, which is likely why their charts are more volatile. Liquidity, like leverage, works both ways. Remember that. And of course, he says, but wait, there's even more. So there we go. It was supposed to be incentive. That is the correction there. So kind of cool. So that is from Richard. Really great update there. And of course, a good reminder to some of those FUD-meisters out there to get their maths right and get the logic right there with AMM pools. So kind of cool. And how the whole of Pulsex is operating at the moment. Now I'm going to post a link to that in the chat there if you guys want to check that out too. Leave your responses there. Go for gold. Not too bad. All right, so that is the link there to Richard Hart's status, and I thought that was a great update from Richard today, which leads us in pretty well. So we've got big stuff happening on the international stage at some of these blockchain conventions and in Dubai and in Germany. We've got Richard Hart there showing how X's are made, and of course we could potentially get with the right moves with LP, obviously with a buy and burn, but with the big buying that would potentially be expected on the Magic Carp ride and any other form or any other tricks that Richard has up the sleeve, we could potentially get those big X's people are talking about, the 100X, the 500X, right? It's doable. And of course, we've got the Magic Carp ride there. So hold on to your hat. It's going to be pretty fun from here. What is it, about 20,000% from here to 1 cent for Pulse? So watch and learn, everybody. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, we're going to have volatility on the way. That's just part of the game. And we're still early in the bull market. And, of course, we just had that first big pullback. All right, let's move on. Pulsechain. These are going to get the results for day 312. And, of course, we've got the 000113 down 8.64% on Pulse at the moment. Only 13% above the mean sacrifice price. So a really nice pickup from there. Pulsex at the moment, 000504. And of course, that is down 10.8% at the moment. That's just trying to stay at that 5,000. Pretty important it stays at that level, just for that support strength there. We don't, really, we're obviously trying to go up in price, but we do have pullbacks on the way. The buy and burn, as we talked about earlier there, it's doing its job, just sitting in the background, doing its job, burning off a whole ton of Pulsechain. And of course, that's going to make it easier for the Magic Carp ride, right? So all the supply going off. That's why I talk about the locked amount of coins, the amount of stuff that's off the market. public supply because it makes it easier for the or at least magnifies the magic upright impact. So we've got 757 billion of PulseX off the market. 3.71% of the public supply is gone for good, out the door. Is the old supply there from PulseX. Incentive token there at $5.58, down, what's that, 9% almost, 8.8%. And the ratio, more importantly, is 49,461. So that's quite off that local top that we've had in the rally. And of course, the amount of incentive tokens, 26.8 million incentive tokens in existence. Of course, they are created in the V1 farms, not V2, V1 farms. And of course, we talked about that 2 days ago, I think. We're going to have a look at the PulseX in a minute because we have got some news around PulseX today as well. And man, I told you today was going to be a big day. You guys didn't believe me? Well, you're believing me now because we've got lots to talk about. Hex here at the moment, PHEX at the moment is 1.24 cents on PHEX, down 12%. And EHEX there at the moment is at 2600th of a penny. So EHEX is actually the one that stayed up today. In fact, it was up in percentage gains, so PHEX was falling. The combined price of EHEX and PHEX is at 1.5 cents. That's where it is at the moment, and I'm looking forward to Hex in the future. It's not going anywhere, and it's going to be fun. All right, so that's pretty much it for day 312 on Pulsechain. Let's get into some of the, what have I got here? I've got something else here. What is this? A Pulse launch. Yeah, we're going to talk about that later on, so that's in the wrong spot. Let's move away. Let's go Pulsechain. So at the moment, we've got 001127 on the price. I haven't got an RSI because you guys know I delete my all my data because I had to do it for something else. Oh, I have got an RSI. Oh, how about that? Where did it go? All right, so RSI is almost oversold. Not quite, but almost 34. So is this the end? Is this the end of the sell-off? Now, obviously, we want to hold, obviously, the mean sacrifice price, which is down at 1,000. So that's down here. It's kind of our natural support there, really, almost at the beginning of the move. And, of course, we have that support there. So that's kind of our natural support is the mean sacrifice price, 1,000. And that lines up pretty well. All right, good place to potentially pick up, though. The RSI is kind of chill there as well. Let's jump over to PulseX. Have we got the RSI on here? Yeah, I have. Yeah, thank goodness for that. All right, so we're down at 40 here on the moment on the RSI. And, of course, likewise, well, we're holding this 5,000 mark is really the key, is holding the 5,000 mark there. And that's kind of our next play. I would say the next support line is 4,300. It's kind of the next play there as well at the beginning of the move there. Also, we had previous support there. But really, we want to hold that 5,000 mark. And that's kind of where we're at the moment. Let's jump over to PulseX. Now, some good news around PulseX. A lot of the top teams that we talk about in the Pulsechain teams that we really like the Magic Upride, like Internet Money, Wallet, and things like that, they're getting a lot of token support, HOA. So you can actually, instead of just having to import the contract, you often get that one, you have to import the contract and it's not there. Well, now you can type it in and you're going to get, Magic Upride. There we go. So it's already preloaded now. So the PulseX team have been supporting, they've been watching, and they've been supporting all these teams. Now you can just type in the ticker and you can pick up a lot of your popular projects that are out there on Pulsechain, which we cover pretty well here. So you got a Magic Upride there, so I don't have to import the contracts. It's going to just type it in, which is really great. And what else are we going to got? HOA, I think it's there. HOA, Hex Token Address. These are these viral guys that go out with ABIT and that, and spread the word about all their meme tokens and stuff like that. Give airdrops to people. It's sort of that kind of crew in the community. What else? Hex Token Address. What else is out there? I guess we got let's go Earn. I guess Earn token will be there. It Earns there from Power City. Not bad. So lots of cool stuff already preloaded there. So lots of teams are getting supported by PulseX. So really good to see that. And of course, as you guys know, with PulseX, we've got the farms on V1, right? So if you want to get earned farms, this is kind of the safest way of doing yield farming because it's on a Richard Hart product, right? Compared to third parties, which we, like quite a few of the third parties out there, but it's probably the safest inverted commas out there if you're going to do income. And of course, the yields are pretty spectacular. You got the PulseX yield there, 18%. You've got the Bridgeton DAI, USDC and USD Tether paired up with Pulsechain. And of course, look at those, 113%, 116, pretty nice. So remember, as the price goes down of Pulse, you're going to get more Pulse in there. And of course, when the price goes up, you get on Pulse, you're going to get more of those stable coins. That's that impermanent loss movement. But in any case, you're going to earn pretty nice APRs. Maybe you have a small percentage of your portfolio. It's up to you what you want to do in terms of earning income. But then, of course, you're after the mad capital gains in crypto. Then you want to obviously hold the Richard Hart tokens or whatever other tokens that you find are the best. It's up to you, really, ultimately. Hex Pulse there is 41%, not bad on the yields. And, of course, Incentive Pulse there, 53%. Incentive Pulse X, 50% there as well. So they're all looking pretty good. They've got a nice little calculator too. Jump on that. Let's say you did $1,000, then every day you're going to earn $3.31, which is almost a third of 1% a day on return. So it's not bad, right? Over 7 days, $23 on 1,000. That's 2.3% of your money back already. It's not too bad at all. So pretty cool. Obviously, with the stable coins, even higher. But of course, you're taking that impermanent loss, permanent loss impact. But you also have the potential for, if you just kept them in Pulsechain, for example, getting the capital gain. So you got to trade that off. And yeah, so some food for thought. But some nice moves there on Pulsechain, looking pretty spectacular. All right, that's pretty much it on that. Let's go to the Ink token. Ink token $5.56. Let's look at the ratio. You guys know I love to look at that. And we can see the ratio at the moment, 49,395. Let's go to the daily, though, and have a look at that in perspective. And, of course, we got all the way up to 55, over 55, almost 56,000. We got 55,762 on the local high for incentive. Of course, incentive's been, on a fly, doing really, really well. So impressive stuff there. And, of course, Richard's talked about that being the big incentive, drawing in people to come over and do farming and all that sort of stuff, which we just looked at. And, of course, participate in this in Pulsechain, bring liquidity and stuff like that. Now, PHEX at the moment is down at 1.24 cents there. Man, what a day. And, of course, we had the big drama about, the controversial tweet, let's say, from or post from Richard Hart back on the 10th of March there around EHEX. And so we had, we got pumped on that day. And then, of course, we're back down here, down 57%. So this is the volatility, the price you pay in crypto, I guess, is the way to look at it, especially with, interesting news there. That's PHEX at the moment. Have I got the RSI? I have. It's not quite oversold, 38, but it's certainly getting down there and may bounce from this range on the old PHEX there. So 1.2 cents. It's got a bit of support here on the chart as well, looking back in the past, but that's kind of where we're at the moment. All right, let's go to EHEX as well. EHEX there, relatively staying up pretty well at 0.25 of a penny. And it's had a big rise and it's come back down, obviously, at the moment as well. It's on the hourly. Let's go to the daily. Got pumped there a couple of hours back, and of course now has pretty much flat from yesterday. There's actually up 2.9% there, so it's a pretty good move, right? 2.9% gains when you consider that all the other ones are all down. So that's pretty good there from EHEX there. Now, combined price of EHEX and PHEX on the hourly, you can see we had a little pump a few hours ago. And of course, we went from 1.47 cents all the way up to 1.684 cents. Now we're back down at 1.5 cents, as I mentioned earlier. That is on PHEX and EHEX combined. That is the play. Now, I just quickly wanted to bring up the EHEX hex pair, which I thought I had up, but I must have closed it down. And of course, you guys know I love to see the inversion of this. So let's go have a look at PHEX versus EHEX. So if you did EHEX versus PHEX, you got a ratio of 0.20, which is actually off the bottom, right? That's off the bottom. The low that we've had so far is 0.096, which is pretty carnage, really. That's a 10-to-1 ratio, right? We can invert that, though, and let's invert that, and we can see PHEX to EHEX. So we're just flipping it around, and you guys can see we've got our circle. That's the circle I drew. Do you remember how I drew this circle? Pretty badass, since I'm not really that great at drawing, but, using preform, that's the way we go. So we got 4.83 is the ratio at the moment. So I thought, this is probably a good range that we might stay in for a time being. And there we go, 4.83 currently at the bottom of that range. And as you guys know, I thought we might actually slip down to 3 to 4. So let's see how we go on that range in time. So not too bad. And of course, there's lots of influences out there supporting EHEX, like, what do we say, Gold Key and others like that. So fun times. All right, let's get out of there. Bam. Let's have a quick look at some of the other stuff that's going on. Validators. We've got 49,137 validators on Pulsechain. 1.57 trillion pulses staked with the validators. Let's have a look at the gas prices at the moment. Oh, gas prices are nice and low. Look at that, 246,000 beats. Pretty much back to BAU, business as usual. 1 cent for a PulseX swap. Yes, please. 600th of a penny for a Pulsecoin transfer. 2/10 of a penny for a Pulse a PRC20 transfer. And of course, as Pulsechain gets more popular, as it gets used more, it's going to go up, right? It's going to go up. That's what you're going to have, obviously. Oh, look, they've changed the format, have they? Oh, they have too. So they've added all the new format here on GoPulse. So gas prices, isn't that kind of cool? Yeah, Ethereum there. Look at all the different prices there. $30 to $3 to a swap at the moment. What's the gas price? They've taken that away, have they? Oh, no, they have. Still got there. 29 Gwei. So we're 3,340 times 3,334 times cheaper than Ethereum, 5,442 times cheaper than Bitcoin at the moment. Isn't that amazing? The only chains that are really close to us are Optimism and Arbitrum, and of course they just got their upgrade, right, with the EIP. Was it 4844? I think that's the one. Proto-Dank sharding Deacon upgrade, which is going pretty well. Let's go to the bridge. This is kind of the health line here. 132.5 million. We're going to keep watching this bridge, right? The money comes over and floods through those pools, and we get those big X returns there. Squared price goes up squared in the AMM pools for V2. So we're going to have a look at that. That's kind of the play at the moment. So how's our PDI? Looking pretty good actually for 45.9. Keep an eye out on the PDI there, and USDL and PXDC and Coast. These are our three native stablecoins. We've got $4 million in Coast at the moment. We've got 18.5 million in USDL and 14.4 million in PXDC. Not too bad, eh? Not too bad. So what's the combined price of that? It's the combined value. We've got 32, 36, so almost $37 million in native stablecoins to Pulsechain. Isn't that awesome? And you guys know I'm waiting for PUSD Algo, man. Let's go, PUSD Algo. Link is in the video description if you want to sacrifice to that and get a 9% referral bonus. The link is in the video description for PUSD Algo. That will be the fourth native stablecoin on Pulsechain. We're looking forward to that. Now, lock percentage of coins is really important, right? Getting all those coins lost to get those big X returns, make it easier for the magic outride or amplify the magic outride. We got currently 2.6 trillion Pulse off the market. Pretty badass. And of course, the value is 1.57 trillion. Liquid loans at 938 billion there. So it's all off the market from the public. Pretty cool. And of course, on PulseX, we've got 334 billion PulseX locked in Power City. Do we have quite a few? Matter of fact, quite a few. Was it redemptions, liquidations there on PulseX? I don't know. Let me know. It seems to have changed a lot there with the price moving down. Probably caught a few people out there. Some of the bigger players. So that's it for the results for day 312 on Pulsechain. We're about to start day 313. The other big news, of course, is Pulse launch. Before we get into that, though, let's catch up in the chat one more time. See if there's any other more comments. Check my Pulse says RH tweet. What a legend. Lays out the blueprint for big ballers to calculate the way price can pump. Calculated risk. TradeFi likes that. Says check my Pulse. Absolutely. XMax says RH tweet enough content for a live stream. Yeah, absolutely. That was pretty epic there. Nice one. All right, I love that tweet. It was a great post there from Richard. All right, Pulse launch has launched. So as you guys know, this got a lot of influencer support behind this protocol on the old Pulse launch, and is a launch pad for Pulsechain, which is great news for Pulsechain. And of course, they've got quite a bit of reach there. And people can now stake, I guess, their token. I haven't even looked at that, but I guess they can click the stake button and stake. So kind of cool. Provisional staking. Staking ends in 2 days and 18 hours. So there we go. An early opportunity for the community to begin earning Pulse points ahead of the official staking launch platform. So the token is launched today, the launch token. And then, of course, you can stake it and earn Pulse points, and then that participate, you benefit from the launches on the platform. So that's kind of cool. You can see all the details there. This address will be open for 72 hours for launch token deposits, and immediate Pulse points accumulate. Token will be guaranteed. Access your Pulse points. Platform launch and token return there. So that's going to come up in 3 days. So there we go, folks. 2 days and 18 hours to get your launch tokens bought off the market, stake them, and earn those Pulse points. That's the way it plays on here on launch. So kind of cool. And of course, they launched their token. So let's pull that up here. Actually, I was supposed to have that up already, but sometimes we don't. So there we go. And here it is here, launched. So how's the price doing? Well, the price had a big move at the beginning. There's the hourly chart. Had a big move at the beginning. Got up to, where did it get up to? 22 cents, 22.5 cents on the second hour. And then has come down since then, currently at 15 cents. Like I say, the sacrifice had closed and the token has launched. So lots of updates here. I'm not going to go into all of that, but here's the idea. Launchpad market cap rankings for an idea of where maybe the value of the Launchpad can go. Currently around $5 million. Is that still true? It's $12 million, so it's a bit higher than that now. But of course, some of these other Launchpads, Chain GPT on 75, DAO Maker 380, Seed DeFi 275, Tensor 180. So it's got a lot of potential upside based on these numbers. With Pulse launch set to release in under an hour, 35x away from chain, I believe launch is geared to climb up faster there. So interesting stuff. So lots of stuff happening there. You got Moon King who's into this. So Moon King there on top of that. So what else we got there? Pulse launch, ticker launch, airdrop and LPs will go live. You do that. What else there? I think that's it. Let me jump down here. Yeah, so staking is live. That was 9 hours ago. So that is live. Pulsechain Telegram. So you can check out all these links here. I'm not going to go through all of them in detail, but you got to get Pulse points after you buy and stake the token. The logic there. Pulse launch, pretty good graphics. So this is the tweet here. Good morning. Launch will be beginning trading. Now it is trading. That is the contract. So it ends in 1819. This is the allocation to the team there, just so you know. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to leave a copy of that link if you want to check out Pulse launch. It is up about there. Not too bad. There was a sacrifice for that. It was kind of a sacrifice. It was kind of a launch phase sacrifice, whatever you want to call it. You can see the breakdown there. Pulse launch allocation. So community got 75%. Fair launch. That's what they called it. 60%. Liquidity 3%. Rewards fund 12%. Teams gets 20% vested over 14 months. Advisors 2.5%. And contingencies 2% there. So it's kind of more, it looks a little bit ICO-ish, doesn't it? In terms of that setup. So either you liked it or not. But that's kind of the play there. Thank you, Sandy. You're most welcome. So you can check out all the latest info. I'm not going to go through all that, but that is launched, and it's a launch pad, so it's going to have projects launched on Pulsechain. That's a good thing. So I'm happy about that. It's got a lot of influencer support. So we look forward to see where Launchpad goes in the future, and maybe it's the dip before the high. And of course, you can stake for those Pulse points to participate in those Launchpads. So once again, do your due diligence. Not financial advice, but it's not, as you guys know, I try to cover all the main projects launching on Pulsechain. So that's just the way it goes. All right, very cool. Very cool. All right, looking good. Let's jump over to some of the other stuff there. And let me go to whatever. So we're currently in Pulsechain projects. So it looks like we've got everything's pretty much down right at the moment on these lists. Now you guys know I've got to finish this list. I was supposed to do it the other day, but I've had distractions. Let's say, to be kind to myself. There's distractions here, but everything's pretty much down. So there's opportunities all over the place to pick up good quality assets. And you see Loan Token and Watt Token there down. Watt Token's down 20%. So there's lots of opportunities there. Derivatives of Hex. Icosahedron. Now, Icosa on Ethereum is actually up 67%, so that's a pretty nice move. Not sure what's really caused that, but they got pumped pretty nicely there. Seems to. Now, I'm relying on this statistic to be correct. Is it correct? Let's see there. What do we got here on the daily? So let's have a look. What's that? 63? Oh, it seems to be correct. So that's not too bad. The influencer coins, Access Alive got pumped, hyper pumped. This thing came out of the blue. I looked at this. Can't believe it. Look at this thing. What the hell went on there? Look at that thing. $303,000. That's just crazy stuff there. Up to 32. Actually got spiked all the way up to 50,000. Who would do such a thing? I don't know. It's crazy, but it did it. Now it's currently at 32,000. As you guys know, it had drifted off all the way down to 4,800. So something's going on there. So if you maybe follow Access Alive and see what's going on there, but that is a big pump in the market there. And I'm not sure if there was any news around that or anything. But let's have a quick look while we're here. As Access Alive, one of the big influences in the Pulsechain X community, and a TA guy. So there we go. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, there's talk here about also getting Crypto Coffee talking about Pulsechain getting listed on MixC. But we'll see where that goes. Yeah, so yeah, not sure what's happening there, but they got mega pumped. So interesting times. The old launch there of Access Live. Yeah, that's pretty much it at the moment on those. Now, obviously, I've got to update my list there. I haven't done it yet, so hopefully I'll get onto it soon. All right, that's pretty much it. Up to an hour and 3 minutes. I think that's a good place to finish. And I hope you guys have enjoyed the show pretty well. This is the way we rock and roll here. What else there? DJ Bomb says liquidity is super low on Axis. Yeah, that's true. We've got a big pump there. I just couldn't believe the amount that got pumped up there, but definitely it moved. So that's all you can say. Hey, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed today's show. We packed it full of goodness there. And yeah, if you want to get into more info, we cover lots, way more stuff on Discord. So get in there. We're talking about a lot more detailed strategies and other intel and things like that. You really do get the edge in our Discord. So if you want to join up, Pulsechain Hex Discord. And of course, we did, got on there first with the dedicated Pulsechain Hex Discord. So it is kind of the number one from that point of view. Get in there, folks, and join another over 1,200 members in there. And you get in there and become part of the family. We've got a bit nice family there. It is so cool. And people really get to hang out, get to know each other. We've got crypto, of course, and non-crypto chats. We've got audio chats, lots of cool things. That's $5 a month to join up, 16 cents a day, pretty cheap. And of course, you get massive value from that. We've got all the links to everything you can imagine in Pulsechain, on ramps, off ramps. You get, it's their projects. It's all there. Got cool charts of all the ecosystem. There's lots of cool stuff there. And of course, if you want to get that go to the next level, we've got Strategy Club. It's $35 a month, and it's a special private club inside the Discord. And of course, you also get Pulsechain and Hex Discord included in that. So join up today on that one. And we cover multi-chain on that, including some of the badass things coming up for crypto, including runestones. Man, getting one of those is kind of golden. That is coming up as well. So if you want to find out more about things like that, get into our Strategy Club. Pretty awesome. All right. I think that's it. Now, finally, to finish things off, we're now in 5 minutes in the live stream. You guys know what's going to happen, right? You guys know what's going to happen. It's going to be the Magic Cup ride. Not financial advice, do your own due diligence, but Magic Cup ride's coming. And I'm going to leave you with that message on the way out. So take care, everybody. Bye for now.
In theory, if someone were a billionaire and they had like all this money, why wouldn't they just buy more of the thing they liked instead of dumping the thing they liked? Like if Bezos bought shares in Amazon, would you be pissed off? If Apple does a stock buyback and they buy more of their own shares in their company back from the public, which is a way to turn earnings into yield for the shareholders, do you get mad and yell at Apple? And so we had to come up with a word for this fan fiction fantasy, which is the opposite of a rug pull, called a magic carpet ride. And so if you're worried about risk of a rug pull, what weighted value have you given the risk of a magic carpet ride? And it's just hilarious to me.